My career sucks.
Sex just isn't the same.
What's my purpose?
Where did this fat come from?
My relationship is killing me.
I'll never be happy.
My debt is piling up. I'll never find love. Why can't I be like other gay guys? Hey guys, it's time to get a grip, stop whining, make a bold move, and do something amazing with your 40-plus gay life. Let's get to the show with your Tell It Like It Is host, Rick Clemons, who does his best to never act like a dick or a diva unless you act like one first.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of 40 Plus Gay Men Gay Talk, and we are going to talk some talking today and some trashing today, and we're going to celebrate some stuff today because, believe it or not, it is Black History Month. I'm trying not going to be that guy, like, let me sling my voice, but I love doing voiceover. I love playing with voiceover stuff. So my Southern boy is going to show up here because my guest is from the South, and I felt it was really important to, once again, have as much representation on my podcast for everybody who's queer. And he showed up. He was a gentleman about it. He did show up. I'm going to be on your podcast. I'm like, okay, whatever you say, sir. And that's why he is here. His name is Jay the Gentleman. He's actually a fellow podcaster. He's got Dear Black Gay Men podcast, and he's got a pretty loyal following on that. I know he loves to have fun and throw his humor around, but also give that really interesting insight of the lens of what a gay Black man has to do in the world and in our community. And I can't wait for him to help us amplify their voices and really showcase what our gay Black brothers go through. So I'm going to shut up, Jay. Welcome, buddy. It's time for you to say hello.
Hey. How are you?
I'm good. Hey. How are you? I love that. Things are what they are right now. Here we are, Black History Month in 2025. We could go off on that in lots of different ways here, but what's on your mind these days as you're talking to your community? I guess that's the thing I'd love to know as a gay Black man.
I think that a lot of what is happening in, like, obviously politics is at top of consciousness, all the things that are happening with the Trump administration. But the interesting thing is, I don't know if I have an interesting take on it, but I would be surprised if the things that he is saying and doing didn't happen the way they are. Like, I did not vote for Trump. I am not a Trump supporter. I do not think he is good for this country at all. But he's been pretty candid about what he's going to do. He has been dishonest. He has been a liar. He has been a cheat this whole time. So if he just, decided to straighten up and fly right all of a sudden, that would be weird to me. So I times are bleak, and they're going to get a lot more bleaker. But for those who voted for him, this is what they asked for, I think. And that's where I'm at. And, just as a Black person, I think it's important. I value the time that I spent with my grandfather before he passed, and my grandmother, she's still alive, and my mom. They can remember times where things were a lot harder. My mom can remember times before she could vote. My mother can remember times where she went to a segregated school. My mother can remember times where there were whites only fountains. My grandparents can remember time. My grandfather's grandfather was enslaved. So times has been bad so I know that we are not there. And I don't think we'll get to those times in the next 4 years, but
definitely be some shifts, no doubt.
There will be some shifts, but I don't think. But I might be the oddball, but I am appalled at how quickly a lot of the things that he wanted to implement are coming, and how crazy the shifts are. TikTok was banned, then it wasn't banned, then this federal order, the executive order to halt funding for things, and it's a lot of this and that and to and fro, but time's been bad before. And I know that we will get through this if we stay focused on what is actually important to the people that we are and the culture that we live in.
I love this concept of staying focused, because I feel like we're living the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once right now. We are literally like it, that. And it can get really discouraging, and especially in our LGBTQ community. And then when I think about people like you, the Black community, the Asian community, there's a whole nother essence to this that me as a white boy okay, white old man. So yes, I'm 61, but I feel like I'm a white boy.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain pieces of it that I will never experience because
Mm-hmm.
I can walk down that street, nobody gonna know nothing different about me until I bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
People of
So
color, they don't have that privilege.
the funny thing is, so inauguration happened on the 20th, on
Yep.
MLK Day of all days.
Yep.
And then the 2 days later, I had to fly to Vegas for an event I was booked to attend and host. And I have, Dear Black Gay Men podcast, we have merch and all the things, right?
Yep.
On the 20th, when Trump first said that there are only two genders, there was a particular trans rights activist that I'm close to, and I had to text her and I apologized because I was like, shit is hard. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of your work has just been erased because he dropped one sentence.
Yep.
So and 2 days later, I'm going to the airport, and while I am not a trans person, when he said there are only two genders, it was waging war against queer people in general.
Yep.
I didn't think of it that way when he said it, but that's what I felt because now I'm walking through the airport wearing a Dear Black Gay Man sweatshirt, and I'm getting, I'm accustomed to getting some stares, I'm accustomed to getting some looks, but it was like amplified to the nth degree. The gate agent, he acted like he didn't want to provide service for me. I'm getting crazy looks when, I'm sitting in the gate, eating my blueberry muffin.
Right.
And it reminded me that it's easy to get lost in the sauce, that certain issues are for certain people, but what really is under assault is just our lives as queer people, especially queer people of color, especially Black queer people. And that is what I know the oppressor wants us to focus on. They want us to get all lost in the sauce and
Yep.
discombobulated because things are
Yep.
happening so fast and it's information overload. And I think that now is the time that focus is absolutely paramount.
Mm-hmm. And I think focusing on the right things, which
Yeah.
could be anything for any of us. Each of us is going to have to find, some of the most compelling messages. Even even though I'm trying to even limit how much I'm on social media right now,
Mm-hmm.
some of the best compelling messages are focus on what you can focus on. You don't have to be the flag bearer for everything. What are the two or three key issues for you in this space right now, which is going to be different for each of us, but there's going to be some commonality. I agree with you 100%, Jay, on this concept that this isn't just about trans, it's about queer. I don't care
Mm-hmm.
how they want to wrap it up. It's coming. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
I had a conversation with someone recently who's like, they'll never take away gay marriage. I'm like, mm,
It's it that there
mm.
whether they will succeed is to be determined, but there is
The
a battle
ideology.
against us. There is a
Yes.
battle being waged
Mm-hmm.
against us. And I think that just like, I was taught, what prompted or what made me aware is my friend, because she does, trans activism, but the idea that there is a space for all of us in this fight now more than ever. And
Yeah.
I as a cis person now that I am aware, now that I know better about, the difficulties that trans people are going in, and I can see the battle coming to my front door. The time is not for me to wait,
Right.
till it
Yep.
gets here and they're taking away
Mm-hmm.
gay marriage, or they're taking away, or they're trying to erase Black history from
Right.
everything. The time is now for us to engage in all of the fights,
Mm-hmm.
because it is really just
Yep.
one issue. It's one thing that brings us all together.
Yeah.
And I can think of, like, I can think of so many times in history, especially in Black history, where we it it there were a lot of single issue fights, but the
Mm-hmm.
issue was really big, really big. Like the Montgomery bus boycott was about integration.
Yep.
Even though that was one issue, that was one huge issue that changed, so many different facets of culture.
Yep.
And if visibility is the single issue, is the hill we got to die on, then this is time to put on the armor.
It is. And then I think that visibility piece is even waking up those of us who are like, okay, I don't feel safe, but I feel somewhat in a okay space
Mm-hmm.
until you realize, and I happen to be married to a Hispanic Latino guy.
Mm-hmm.
I worry even at this point, given the craziness, like I think you would know he's Hispanic. He's not super dark skinned, but you can tell he's not white cracker. Let's just go there. And we live in a pretty cool space, but I always go, well, now that this has been opened up, could they just come on him because, oh wait, he's Hispanic, he's an illegal, da da da. It concerns me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I even let's just be honest, Jay. You and I, being podcasters and talking on, we're out there. There ain't no hiding. We can't hide. We are out there full tilt. And so a friend of mine asked me the other day, like, "Are you concerned?" I'm like, I could be. But if I allow my concern to be so much that it consumes me and I go hide what I'm doing, I don't think I'm helping my community. I think now more than ever is a really good time to like be out there and go, you may think you can get rid of me. I ain't going nowhere. I'm not going to stop my podcast. I'm not going to start representing. I'm not going to stop talking about any of this. And I think that's the important pieces now.
I think what has happened for me, because not only am I a podcaster and I live a somewhat public life, but also I'm talking to a marginalized of a marginalized group. I'm talking
Absolutely.
to men who are under assault for a whole bunch of reasons, and then Black men, and then gay men.
Yep.
And so my job now, I think, is to for the people that I'm speaking to, for Black queer people that are listening to the podcast, my job is to offer a little levity with intention, a little, be fun for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But for the people that, are adjacent to my audience, or the people that I might not be speaking to directly, my job is to show us in a light that shows our commonality more than it shows our divisions.
Absolutely.
I think sometimes podcasters and us, especially those with the biggest microphones, tend to get in this very divisive space.
Yep.
And create this us versus them narrative that exacerbates everything else that's happening everywhere else. And so, like, the reason why I was so excited about this particular podcast is because why I am over 40, I am not. I think that one could argue that that our podcast might not speak directly to the same group of people, but there's opportunity for us to have a conversation that grows both of us forward. And I'm really excited about that.
Well, it's an opportunity for us to hook up and see if it really goes anywhere. So let's just go.
Yeah,
let's have some fun with it. We're hooking
clearly.
up. We're checking it out. We're seeing if we like
and
the
I
goods.
try to be easy. I try to be a little easy every once in a while.
This is the third time you've said that. You said that before we were going. Like, I'm easy. I'm like, now I'm kind of wondering what's his message there. No.
I try to be a good guest, so I'll let you ask the question.
Absolutely.
Here's something.
Here's a commonality. Okay, so here's a commonality that I'm quite sure that you hear in your audience all the time, that I hear in my audience all the time. Yours happens to be really for the Black man. Like, yeah, there's no guys out there. There's no one. There's no man.
Yeah. Or
shall we dish on that trash. For a moment?
Or the dating pool is trash, and either there's nobody in it or the people in it are trash. And the irony about all of that, because I talk about dating every single episode, there is a dating component of everything we do. The podcast was started because I got stood up for a date. But the interesting thing is, the people that are saying that are also in the dating pool. So if there's nobody there, that means either you're not in the right pool because there's nobody in it,
right?
Or if the dating pool is trash, that means you are swimming in trash. So that either means you are the trash or you're not in the pool. And the funny part about it, what I try to tell people, especially because I feel like I'm on my way out of the dating pool, thank God. But
all right,
which we can talk about later. But if, for instance, there's no one or it's not anybody good in it, then I think that speaks more to you and what you're attracting than it does to the people that are in the pool. Because I'm in a dating pool and I'm a good man. I'm a damn good man if I do say so myself. So,
But Jay, part of it is owning that. I mean, you got to own that you're a
yeah,
good man, that you're worth. And so many gay men, okay, I realize this happens out in the other ethers, heterosexuality too, because I have good heterosexual girlfriends and guys I talk about. But if you don't own that you're good, that you think you're worthy of love and attention, I don't even care if it's just you're worthy of good sex on a hookup. It ain't going to come to you. It is not going to come to you because you are not going to attract it.
Yep. It's not going to come. But I would offer that I think it goes a step further. It's not just acknowledging that you're good, because that is a huge component of it. I think it also has to be acknowledging that I want good for myself as well. A lot of people who I hear the there's nobody in the dating pool or blah blah blah, they're not really pursuing anyone with any true intention. They want a buffet of options just so they can have a buffet of options, not and their real authentic end goal isn't I want to be with somebody. It's just I want somebody to like me.
Right.
But they're not willing to put forth the effort of liking them. They're not really to put forth the effort of working at being a good man for this other person. They just want somebody to shower them with love and attention and text them in the morning. And if that's the bullshit you on, then just say that.
Okay.
But
there's also a beautiful flip side to that if you have the beautiful audacity, the balls to actually say, this is what I am looking for. Then there's the other side of that don't get pissed off if the other person's like, oh, well, that's not what I'm looking for. I interviewed somebody just recently, or actually I'm partnering with another coach to do some work. And we were doing his Instagram live the other night. And he said something really powerful. He said, I'm really open. He's a sex coach. So he's like, I'm really open to having sexual experiences with men. It's part of how I, extend my education and everything. And he goes, I make no bones about it. I'm not looking for love. I'm looking for some fun along the way, and maybe it's repeat fun. He goes, but I'm very open about this is what we're doing, and this is what I'm seeking from that. Does that work for you? And he said, you would be shocked. And I said, probably not shocked, but he said shocked at how many guys like, no, I can't do that. Okay, that's cool. I'd rather somebody say, I can't do that, because then we really understand each other. But I think too often in our world of gay men dating pool, and it's all trash, we're not saying exactly what we want. We think we are, but we aren't. We are not.
I think that is absolutely the truth, because in my experience, well, first, let me say, I respect and appreciate somebody who can just be like, hey, I'm looking to fuck, and that's it. And that be the extent of the thing.
Yep.
Because at least I can wrap my head around our expectations. You can wrap your head around our expectations. We can see how those two things fit together. But more often, what I see, especially with the people who are either saying I'm not having good sex, or I'm not finding a good man, or if I'm not having a great experience, they are either actually trying to just have hookups and that be the extent of it, but they're saying that I'm looking for this deeper connection when they're really not. Or the flip side is they're looking for this deeper connection and they're settling for just sex.
Exactly.
Because they're not being honest about their actual intentions. And I think that a lot of people also construe that what I put in my dating profile, that must be my truth. Like I can say looking for dates and relationship and all that on, whatever dating app. But just because I typed it doesn't mean that's what I actually want. I can type anything.
Yep. I was on Grindr the other day, and it was just really interesting because sometimes I just scroll through the profiles to see what people are saying, because I coach guys on dating and everything as well. And every once in a while I have hookups and stuff. And this one really caught my attention because it started out, this is my truth. This is not bullshit. I'm here strictly for sex. If you're wanting a relationship, if you're wanting to go out on a date, if you're wanting to have some intimacy, which we'll share some intimacy, but my intimacy will be tied to the sex that I want. If any of that doesn't ring true for you, I wish you well. and would prefer you don't reach out to me. And he's a really good looking guy. I mean, he has some really good looking pictures. Oh, and this is my truth. These are my pictures. Okay.
Mhm.
I love that one, Jay, because it's like he is truly, now it could all be bullshit too, but
Yes.
I thought he would be somebody that I would be like, okay, you know. Oh, and he was also like, and I'm only looking for guys from this age range to this age range. I think it's really good when you say those things, because some people go, oh, what a jerk. Da, 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 da. He's living his truth, at least
Yes.
what we can tell, you know. And too
But-
often when you don't live your truth is why things aren't happening for you.
Yeah, but I think also the flip side of that is also true, because the only reason that someone would ever be offended by someone's truth is insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
if you, him, the other guy, whomever is looking for something that I don't, some template that I don't fit in, and that bothers me, it's because deep down inside, the inside, the deep in your gut, even if it's just a small feeling, is I wanted him and he doesn't want me.
Mm-hmm.
And that bothers me. But if someone is living their authentic truth and I am secure and their truth doesn't align with mine, then we can just be two ships that pass in the night, and it doesn't have to be anything. But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of us, a lot of gay men, black gay men, I would imagine, I know black gay men, but I imagine a lot of us are just really insecure about certain things about ourselves.
Absolutely.
And we want everybody to like us, and we want everybody to want us, and we want to be everybody's thirst trap, when really everything ain't for everybody. And if you get that in your spirit, if you get it in, in your gut,
yep,
then you can be a lot happier in the interactions that you do have. But a lot of gay life, a lot of black gay life, in my experience at least, is about, being the most desired and the most sought after and the most followed and the most whatever. But I will tell you, the one thing that podcasting has taught me that I didn't even know I needed to learn was I am for who I am for. I am here to do what I am here to do. And it doesn't have to be any more than that. Like Dear Black Gay Men is Dear Black Gay Men. And so if I don't have a huge swath of white, straight, female listeners, then that's okay.
That's okay. I feel the same way about this one. I mean,
yeah.
I always get intrigued by, when I get an email or something from somebody who's like, I'm not 40, but I love your podcast. I'm like, cool. I didn't say you couldn't listen to it. But the ones that really intrigue me are like, you know what? I'm 32. I really am enjoying your podcast because you're giving me like a vision of what could happen for me when I hit 40 or older. You're showing me things I hadn't thought about. Those are always those really inspiring spaces. But you brought up something that I think plays to a question that always, not a question, but something that happens a lot. These assumption things that happen in online dating stuff that become very offensive. But if you're secure in yourself, it shouldn't offend you. So the guys who have the audacity, but yet the authenticity to say, no blacks, no femmes, no Asians. How do you feel about that based on what we were just talking about being authentic?
So my answer is twofold. Like, there's my cultural hat where, I'm an advocate for all the things. And yes, I think that I talk about preference versus prejudice on the podcast. And I believe that preference is I like this.
Yep.
Prejudice is I don't like this.
Yep.
And the I don't likes is culturally offensive because all black people, all 40 plus, all Asians, all Latinos, we're not monolithic. We are all very, very different people. And anybody who cannot see the distinctions that is offensive on a cultural level.
Yep.
Now, on a personal level, when somebody says no blacks, or some people think I'm masculine because I've gained weight recently and I work out and all the things, but I think of myself as pretty obviously gay. But if people say no fems or no thick or no thin or whatever they think that I am,
Right.
on a personal level, in my head, I probably don't want you. And
Mm-hmm.
secondly, okay, I
That's you.
mean that's your bad, I
That's
guess.
you. But it's always like I always look at it the same way. Like, okay, that's you. How you message that could be done a little better. You
Yeah.
know. You
But
know.
I take it one step further. Like if someone says like they only do clean, I am not living with HIV, but I if they say, are you clean? No, I'm not. You're not for me. I
Right.
don't I I don't want to tap into that. Or if they say they don't do films, regardless of how masculine you may think I am, I'm still not gonna
Mm-hmm.
want to be with you.
Right.
I so my cultural warrior hat does come out every once in a while
Mm-hmm.
to advocate for in small ways for people living with HIV or people who are
Right.
a lot more feminine in our culture. But
Right.
generally speaking, it honestly the truth is when it comes to like hooking up, if you have a whole list of I don't do's, regardless of what that list is, I ain't gonna be trying to fuck
No.
with you no way because
Mm.
I
Nope.
don't care.
I don't have
And
time. I just want to get off. Okay. I just want to have some fun and
can
enjoyment.
we just
And
come? Can we
yeah,
just
thank you.
come? That's all
Exactly.
we want to do is just let's just
We just want to get
come.
off. Let's just do it. And if we get to like, hey, if there's some good kissing and stuff that happens along the way, that's even better,
Sure, but let's
Yeah.
just come. Let's just let that be the thing.
Let's
That's
just
that be the
let's just be it
motivation.
because one day guys are going to be 61 like me and that little thing's going to just spurt. It's not going to be a big mountain of cum these days. So get it when you can, okay? This is how
Yes.
authentic I am. It's like if you're looking for a guy, like I was chatting with a guy not long ago, and everybody knows I'm in an open relationship. My husband and I
Mhm.
predominantly play together, but every once in a while we'll hook up. And I was chatting with this guy, and he's like, "Do you come a lot?" I'm like, "I don't measure it.
I
I just
that question is do you come a lot? Um so like the other one that usually gets me is if I'm trying to have a simple hookup because I enjoy simplicity. I'm usually not
amen."
the type to go for, you know, I, one thing that happens a lot in hookups, I'll just give you a little backstory. One thing that happens a lot is someone who is unsure of the vibe I'm on when I get
Mm,
there or when they get here, they want to sit at the edge of
mm,
the bed and say, "So what's up?" 50 times, waiting
yeah.
for somebody to make the first move. I can't stand that.
Mm,
So I'm usually the type be like, just be naked when I get there, or
right.
I'm already naked because who needs to, why would you
Right.
put on some sweats so I can walk through the door and take them off? Like, let's just be
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah.
And so the very specific questions about a hookup usually are the ones that I'm
Or a
like,
turn on.
oh
Yeah.
child. Now
Now I will ask
I'll endure them
questions.
to a degree,
Yeah. I will.
but
I mean, one of mine that's like, I'm just, this is my little vibe thing. Are you into kissing? If they're not into kissing, it doesn't work for me. That's part of what turns me on.
really,
Yeah. Yeah.
mine
Not
is
every time, but
mine is if I'm looking like if I need a good session, usually
mm,
it's oral. Like
mm,
I don't like bottoms who don't get their dick sucked. I don't like tops who don't get their ass ate. Like
mm.
I need a full experience. I like a
Full
whole
experience.
man.
Yep.
I
Exactly.
want
Mm,
every piece of this man
mm,
if I'm going to
mm-hmm.
engage with you. So like if you have the don't touch this and don't do that. Now granted enough, I do respect boundaries. I'm not saying,
Mm-hmm.
it's a free for all.
Right.
But there are certain activities in there that I need to make sure are included in the
Yeah, it was a
in the
few years
menu.
ago. We had a play date with a younger guy, and he wouldn't take his little wife beater shirt off, and he didn't want any of his chest or anything touched. I'm like, okay, but the fact that he wouldn't take the shirt off at all, I was like, this is
This is
interesting, and
weird.
yeah, it's
Like
kind of weird,
now I will
but
say because I do play with trans men, and so sometimes
mhm,
as a like
sure,
pre-op and all that may be a
yeah,
sensitive
no, I
topic,
totally get that.
but I mean when the bottom half comes off, we know what we're dealing with.
Right, exactly,
And
yeah,
and the but the funny thing about that is when people are uncomfortable taking clothes off or they want to keep certain things on, the I especially if I'm topping, that becomes part of the motivation to make them at
hmm
ease because
yeah.
the sex just gets better when people are
Well, yeah, when you're
comfortable,
comfortable and you're at ease, and you know I've been with guys where I'm like, hey, I'm letting you know right out the gate. I'm not in the mood to top tonight. I could, but I'm not.
Mhm.
And I'm not really in the mood to be bottom, but I'll take care of you every other way to Sunday. Because
Mhm.
I just want some body contact. I want a dick in my mouth. I just want a dick in my mouth.
that's
You
my
know,
that's my kind of carrying on, Rick.
it's just like, this is what I want. And hey, don't get offended. I would love you to put, my dick in your mouth, but what will really get me going, just take those balls, just munch on them for all you're worth, baby, because I'll just sit there and just, that's what daddy needs. Daddy needs balls
Yes.
munched on. Okay. And if you want to flip over and eat the booty, that won't
Yes.
hurt me either. And some guys are like, oh, I can't do any of that. I'm like, well, then what are we doing here? I might as well just go light a cigarette and start smoking again, because I thought this is where we were headed. But
Well, I think people are still very taken aback by straightforward connections.
yes.
People are not, a lot of us are not in a position to understand that someone can be crystal clear on, this is what I like, this is what I want from you, and this is what I have to offer. I had an episode of the podcast last week where we talked about kinks. And it was me plus two kinksters, and they have some very specific things that they're into. And we did, and in the comments, because we go live on YouTube, in the comments, people are saying they're more freaky and less kinky. And what me plus the guests plus the audience online came to the understanding of is, kinky requires that you have some clarity about, this is what you're into, right? You have some clarity, you have some boundaries, you have, this is what I really like, and this is what and in some cases, this is what I don't like.
Right.
Whereas freaky is where you just kind of get to the bedroom and we'll figure it out when we get there.
Figure it out.
If somebody pees a little bit, great. If not, sure.
Yeah.
And what I uncovered for myself is, I'm pretty clear on what I want when I get there. But a lot of people ain't skilled enough to deal with that. They want me to be as indecisive as they are. And those just ain't the sex is good, because I'm doing it because it's always gonna be good. But they're not as, people don't have as broad a language about what they like and what they don't like, and are not as courageous enough to express it, is what I'm learning.
But Jay, this is one of the problems that happens, that I think anybody in relationships, but since we both talk to gay men, if you don't know how to clearly communicate, none of this is going to be good. Yeah. I don't care if it's about sex. I don't care if it's about relationships. I don't care if it's about your career. I don't care if it's about your friendships. If you don't know how to clearly communicate. I had a situation recently where I clearly communicated something to a friend, and we had a great conversation about like how I felt, how he felt. And then it was, okay, cool. We had it. Great. Done. But it was really straightforward, and it's not easy. I'm going to say it took me years to get to the space where I could because of coming out late in life and everything was like, oh, don't rock the boat. Once I really started realizing, you know what? Papa's going to rock the boat. I'm going to do it in really powerful ways. I did.
Throw your weight around, Rick.
Yeah, I did. Now, are you calling me fat? That was like... Okay, not he just called me fat. People throw that. No,
not at all.
But it is one of those things that there was, even when I first came out, Jay, it was like, okay, I've got my voice a little bit, but that little bit of holdback, like, oh wait, you're not supposed to do this. You don't want to be offensive. And then I went to the opposite extreme, like just fuck everybody. I'm going to say whatever. And I'm like, well, that's not exactly working either. So I had to find my voice. Like I could do what I just did. Like, okay, he called me fat. I'm joking about that, but there's this fun way of like doing this, and I feel like oftentimes we as humans, okay, so now I'm going to let the whole planet, even though the whole planet's not listening to this, maybe they should. When we as humans start to realize, in the words of Don Miguel Ruiz, do not take anything personally.
Yes, the Four Agreements, one of my favorites.
Yes. Yep. Okay, so we're good best friends now. We read the same shit. Not shit. Don Miguel, sorry. It's good stuff. Yes. But it is good stuff. When you can... And I'm not going to say not every day do I master that really well. But when I realize, why am I taking that so personally? And when I realize, I don't know that that's actually what they intended. I created the whole story. I created every story about that. When I told a guy not long ago that we were having a really fun experience with, I'm like, I'm not going to top you tonight. And here's why. he was like, okay. Now I could have just said it's not happening tonight and then roll over and, whatever. I realize how you approach it and say, hey, here's why I don't feel like it tonight. This was what I'm really in the mood for. I know you want this, maybe other papa can give that to you. I don't know. You got two of us here. Let's figure this shit out. But I think sometimes we forget it's just a conversation.
Yes. I do think that, because the Four Agreements is, I've probably read it 5 times by now, even though it's only four agreements, but they're pretty fucking huge and epic, they are huge. Right?
Yep.
And so when I think of the Four Agreements, the one that, in addition to don't take anything personally, is don't make any assumptions. That's a part of it, but don't make any assumptions. And when I think about like how I engage sexually, how I engage emotionally, how I engage on all these levels, I don't want to, I have a narrative in my head that I've told myself about this person, about this situation, about this circumstance that I find myself in. But the other person ain't even in it. They did not participate in me creating that narrative. They do not know anything about that narrative that's going on in my head. And I can't hold that against them. So I, like the other day, so I am dating somebody.
I kind of picked up on that because I realized when you said, well, I'm trying to get out of the fishbowl of the trashy dating scene. I'm like, okay, he's moving on.
Yes, I am dating somebody. And we had our first, like, it wasn't even an argument. But the funny thing, I won't tell you what it's about, but the funny thing is I feel like he prepared for an argument. He wanted it to be emotional and he wanted it to be a thing. And so he had like, a 5-point PowerPoint presentation about why I fucked up and what I did and how I did it and all this. And so he gets, he tells me this is the problem. And I say, oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense when you put it that way. Now I know where the work is. Now I can, do better. And it was so interesting, the shift in the conversation, because it really felt like he wanted there to be a altercation, not physical, not obviously, but he wanted it to be something, because a lot of us in our culture just take everything so personally. Every time somebody rejects us, every time somebody does something we don't like, every time somebody whatever, it has to be a personal violation, when really it's just they like what they like, they don't like what they don't like, and we can move on. Now, that is, like you were saying, with the no blacks, no fats, no femmes, all that. That's very J person. Now, culturally, of course, there are some things that we need to fix because there is real prejudice in the world. I don't want to discount that. But just on a personal level, I try my hardest not to take anything personally, because they don't know me. I don't know them.
Well, really, I think when we take it personal, we give over our power. We give over so much power. And that's that's a big lesson I've worked on a lot since I've come out. And now that I've, risen to that ethereal space where, I'm so far above everybody else, I can preach this word because I'm God, guys, I'm kidding. But it's such an interesting thing that when I've got wrapped up. Okay, let's just be honest. I've got wrapped up in some shit since the election and inauguration and everything. And I'm like, why are you giving us that power? Why are you giving it the power? Why are you giving it the energy? I'd much rather go spend the energy somewhere else. Actually, since we're kind of on a book little rampage right now, so to speak, one of my favorite new books, which I've just barely gotten into, is Mel Robbins' new book, Let Them.
Let them.
Just let them. Because then that, like, okay, fine. Let them do this and just let them do it. Let them do it. Now you get to choose. For those who are listening, you need to go read. Jay and I are not going to give you this for free. If you want this, we're not going to dole this out for free. Book. You need to read this book. And it's been a game changer for me. There's been some moments where I'm like, Papa Bear needs to but it is, because you realize when you release that, then you get to choose. You get to choose how you want to now be with it. And it's
Yes, I won't give
so
everybody like
powerful.
the next piece because it's an amazing book.
Yeah.
The Four Agreements. Let them now. The funny thing is as you're talking about these titles that I just happen to know, but I used to hate reading. I used to hate it, and
Yeah.
now I love it. Like we have a book club on Dear Black Gay Men, and our current book club pick is 100 Boyfriends. Now it is not.
Oh,
It's not going to be the book that it's not going to be the book that changes your life and you have a big epiphany. It's definitely a salacious read that is going to be entertaining from cover to cover. But the back to like, don't take anything personal, don't make any assumptions, and let them. People are going to people on every level. And like I told you about my colleague who's trans, and I had to I apologize to her on behalf of everything that happened during the inauguration. But like the other day I posted on Instagram about, I said trans women are women. That is the simple post. It was just a reel on Instagram that says trans women are women. And I have been insulated in my little corner of the internet where I'm talking to black gay men about black gay shit. Yep. And then I posted about trans women. All of a sudden, we ventured into the crazy part of the internet, and the comments came flooding in about how no, trans women are men and trans women are trans women. And like it was just so much trans hate in the comments. Yep. And so one of my team members, he was like, should we start moderating? And I said, yeah, if there's something tremendously offensive, but people are going to people. And the interesting thing that I started seeing in the comments, because I started, I went on the delete spree.
Right.
But then what happened was there was one guy, or I think he identifies as a guy. I don't want to misgender anybody, especially since we're talking about trans stuff, but he was on the opposing side. So I'm assuming that he's, a guy. But he was having a real conversation, like an authentic exchange in the comments about, well, why are trans women women? Why is this a thing? And after his first couple crazy segments, he really was like, you could hear how the conversation softened. Now, granted enough, there was an army of people on the other end combating him, but eventually he softened. And then he sent me a DM. He said, I never really thought about it that way. And so by letting these comments do what the comments are going to do. Again, if anything was, violent or all those things,
absolutely.
Instagram moderated that, we moderated some other stuff. But by letting the people, he had a real opportunity to grow. And it's beautiful when it happens. And, you can see it in the comments.
One of my favorite exchanges in that same kind of space was with another person on the planet. I'm going to say it that way because I don't want to really reveal where they are. Who, good Christian faith, has a kind of accept you for who you are, but love the sin and not the sin sort of space, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about all of this sort of stuff, and they happen to embrace, me as a gay man or lesbians, but they have a really hard time with the trans and the gender nonconforming. So when I finally posed the question, I'm like, so I'm curious why you have a hard time understanding. Just help me understand where the thing is for you, because I'm in that community. Let me see if I can help guide you. Well, God doesn't make any mistakes. So of course, me and my Papa Bear wisdom, I'm like, And I said, I agree. And he didn't make a mistake. He absolutely made them the way they are. Well, no, you misunderstood me. I'm like, no, I clearly understood you. You said God doesn't make any mistakes. And I agree with you 100% because he made them exactly how they are. They didn't know what to do with it. They didn't know what to do because I was actually agreeing with them like, yep, you got it. He made them trans. He made them gender nonconforming.
He wanted the argument. He wanted the argument.
Yeah. And I'm like, I had them so stumped, like they did not know. And it wasn't like, oh, hey, Rick got the victory, right? It was actually one of my most heartfelt, proud moments as a gay man to be able to go, I actually felt like I made a difference without it turning into fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that in the podcasting space, it sometimes I would say for me at least, it's difficult to have those moments because
Yes.
sometimes it feels like, I'm just talking to a computer and it's
Yeah.
just you and me on
Mm-hmm.
you're where you are, and it's just
Yep.
the two of us.
Yep.
But every person has always told me stay out of the comments because you're gonna go crazy.
Yeah.
But the irony is, I really believe this is that when I approach this work, when I approach Dear Black Gay Men with the best of intention,
Mm-hmm.
if my intention, the energy behind whatever conversation I'm trying to have is clear, and
Yep.
I can sit in it, then I haven't had the comment horror stories that some others have.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that their intention is unclear, but if
Right.
my intention is to just move the needle one step forward for whomever
Absolutely.
I can, then I think my job gets a lot simpler. I think the
Mm-hmm.
work gets a lot simpler. The conversation gets a lot better because I'm not trying to change everybody. I don't want everybody to
Mm-hmm.
be, we're here, we're queer, get used to it.
Right.
I want people to be just one step further along than wherever they are. That's why, like every episode at the top, I say, this is your weekly reminder of how dope it is to be Black gay men who love Black gay men. And I want to help you move one step further along your journey to happiness, whatever that is for you.
Mm-hmm. Same
And
thing here. I just want for guys that are gay men over 40 to just embrace every little bit and nuance of being a gay guy over 40.
yeah,
From the dirty, trashy shit to the wonderful, beautiful shit to the like big question mark stuff in your head. Just embrace it and own it. And however I can help you move forward and see it in a different space. And sometimes I'm like, and if you listen and you got nothing out of it, thank you for spending 50 minutes with me and Jay. We glad we helped contribute to you getting 50 minutes of doing nothing. Okay.
yeah.
But that's a benefit. So
Like I do have one question for you though, if I could.
Yeah.
Like I know when I turned 30, light bulb
Mm-hmm.
came on. It was
Yep.
bright as hell. I didn't really understand what it was shining on, but I can, looking back, a light bulb came on. 40,
Mm-hmm.
same thing. A light bulb
Yep.
came on. Now that you're in your 60s, what was the 60 light bulb? If you can explain it.
Yeah, I will. So like you, 30 didn't really nothing. I mean, I was a dad by then. I had 2 kids. It was like the 30s was like, let's just keep building my little life empire, right?
Mm-hmm.
40s, I had come out. 40s was my favorite decade so far.
Mm-hmm.
50, I had a crisis. I turned 50. My youngest started high school. My oldest started college. I was like, oh my gosh, oh my God, life is really happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
My 60 light bulb is it's okay not to give a shit. It's okay to really not give a shit, to not let anything bother you. Even though stuff still does. The energy that I waste giving energy to stuff that doesn't matter is the worst waste of time I can give myself right now. Just don't care. Care where it's intentional, care where it's necessary. But just because somebody doesn't agree with you, don't let it take you down.
Let them.
Yes. So yes, thank you, Mel Robbins. Thank you, Mel Robbins. So and now that I've put my hand on that book, I'm like, oh, this, yeah. So yes,
Yeah.
I think my 60s is more about I'm good. I don't put as much emphasis on things that don't matter. My husband and I do a lot of travel. When we used to travel, and we still do, we get something everywhere we go. If you can see, you can kind of see some of it in this room here. But if you can see this wall, it's all artwork from all over the world. We have a whole art wall downstairs. I mean, our bedroom is a big art wall. We have art everywhere from everywhere we travel. The last 2 trips that we've done, big trips, Honolulu to Tahiti. We went to some South Pacific islands and stuff. We came home with just a couple of cool things because I just don't give a shit. Oh, it used to be about, oh, let's get this piece because then when people come and visit, and I love that we get to share our life through the visual of our art. So much stuff doesn't matter these days, And I've really, I guess another thing for me, Jay, is I've taken that to my relationship with my kids and really tried to teach them, learn to not care so much right now. Because if you can learn not to care about stuff that doesn't matter, you can go do everything that does matter and really relish and just savor it.
Yeah.
So that's my big lesson right there.
That's so good, Rick. I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you being here. I'm so glad we got connected and that this happened. It was meant to be. It was really like, as for the listeners, this happened really quickly. A PR person talked to me the day before, yesterday, and here we are today, and it's going to air it's going to air when it airs here in 2 weeks. So it's going to be real good, but I appreciate that.
I will tell you that answer kind of changed me. So my hat is off to you. That was good. Well, that was really good.
Well, you've said some really, I've always heard the phrase people will people, but the way you kept bringing it up is like, oh yeah. Yep. Which people will be people. So let them. I think we've done Mel Robbins some pretty good PR here on this.
We have, because now
I think we should reach out.
The subject matter was amazing, but we did some good plugs of that book, because that book is amazing.
It is amazing. Yeah. And you're amazing, man. I love your energy. Thank you so much for sharing, being who you are. Guys, please go listen to the podcast. I caught one little one, barely got to listen to like a few minutes. And I'm like, okay, me and boyfriend are going to have a good conversation. We're going to have a good conversation. And then once I realized we were both from the South, and then, there's some other stuff and all that good stuff. So wishing you all the best with the relationship.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome to come back and talk anytime, man. I think, I would love to have you come back and like, okay, so here's some new stuff, because I think we could go even deeper on like, here's some stuff that gay Black men really struggle with, like really lay it out. And I'm putting you on my recurring guest list. I'm just letting you know, like, this one is a high five. Bring him back anytime. So
I'd love that. I'd love that.
Well, go have a blessed day. I know you have the blessing. It does say blessing, right? Is that
yes,
what it says?
It does.
Yeah. So go have a blessed day, and thanks for being part of my world. We will have every link to everything about Jay, even, those nude pictures. I mean, not really. No, not the nude pictures on the internet. We won't have his Grindr profile. He won't have, any of that income, but you will have a link to his podcast, his website. And again, I feel like I just had a really amazing conversation with a kindred spirit. So thank you, man. Appreciate
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
That's a wrap for 40 Plus. Gay men, gay talk, where size doesn't matter. We drop our bullshit, get over our screwed up fears, make bold moves, and live life without apologies. Don't forget to join us on Facebook at 40 Plus, Gay Men, Gay Talk, where the conversations continue.